really felt the vibe of creative arts here in the community. And we decided that we wanted to move forward. And that's when the Creativity Unlimited Arts Council was born. And we just progressed from there, from that little seed of the literary festival, moving on into, let's create an arts center.
These ladies came up and they were just delightful. And they represented the literary part of North Platte, Nebraska. It was so exciting to talk to them. They said, have you ever dreamt of an art center, a facility that you could, oh, I've dreamt of it all my days.
That was a long process in itself. You know, we looked at many different buildings, we evaluated different sites and different directions we could go. And of course, there was always this building.
Patsy Smith and myself were always interested in an art center. And we had looked all over town. We looked at the Mason building down the street. Problem with that was elevator and no parking. And so we kept looking, and then we found out that the city had purchased this building, and they didn't know for sure what they were going to do with it, but it was talked at one time they were going to tear it down for a parking lot.
Administrations changed and ideas changed, and that went away. So this place was vacant for a couple, 3 years. The college had maintained it pretty well. And the ladies and Jim Whitaker thought there was a better use for that.
First of all, we wanted a building that if we were going to put X amount of dollars into it, we wanted a good building.
This building is over 100 years old. And for me, working behind all of the craftsmen that built this in the first place, I'm in awe of their skills. But they did quality work on this building. This building it's got good structure.
The first challenge was acquiring the building from its owner, the city of North Platte. The city agreed to sell the building for $10,000, but they had a stipulation that $250,000 had to be raised so that renovation could begin.
You know, when you try something new in a community, I think sometimes people think, that's not going to work. Just leave it alone, leave it as it is. They don't want to move forward.
And lots of people said, are you nuts? That's going to cost you half the town.
We decided we were going to prove them wrong.
They didn't know how serious we were about it. So there was a committee of 5. We decided our goal was $250,000. We were going to get commitments, donations. So Jim Whitaker was the head of the committee. And he said, okay, gals, that means we have to get $25,000 each week on an average.
They set up a fund at the Community Foundation, a building fund, to receive donations and help start the funding of this project. And the first fundraising campaign was underway.
We would organize that, come up with ideas of activities that would bring people together.
We started out with an arts festival, and several of us artists, Patsy Smith and myself, and I can't remember who all we had. When the mall was still the mall, we went out there and had an arts festival. It was called, we called it the Chocolate Buffet Arts Festival, and we drew in lots and lots of people. Actually, it was Doris Ashley's idea. She was also one of the founding brains behind getting an art center. She wanted to do the chocolate buffet. She was a fantastic cook and connoisseur of what needed to be done. And the word got out then that we were out there.
We were having all kinds of people that we didn't expect. And they were eating all our chocolate desserts and then taking a plateful home. So we were running out. So Doris said to me, Betty, go to the grocery store and pick out those Swiss rolls that were chocolate. And I did, and we came back and cut them all up.
And they said, oh, these are better than whatever you had before. So anyway, it was a great event, and we had a good time with that.
I made jewelry. And so Wava Bess said, Judy, she was making these garden goddess. And so they had perforations on the faces, and so she wanted to use beading and wires to decorate the faces. And so she said, why don't you help us? And I had all kinds of beads and I had all kinds of wire. And so I took the materials, and that's the first thing I really did as a QAC member.
On one day, the Community Foundation deposited 188 checks, most of them for $1,000.
And in the end, after 10 weeks, we counted it all up, and it was $257,000.
After raising the money for this, then we knew we still had to raise more money. So we applied for a lot of grants. Eric Seacrest was really good in helping us out with different grants through them. We also went through the Visitors Bureau and were able to get several yearly grants from them. I think maybe 125 or 75,000 to begin with, and each year we would apply and get more grants from them.
Beginning in 2016, Mid-Nebraska Community Foundation started hosting North Platte Giving Day, a fundraising campaign to raise money for local nonprofits. And in the first 10 years of Giving Day, over $500,000, $500,000, was raised for the Prairie Arts Center from donations, sponsored cash prizes, and anonymous matching funds.
You know, we had an architect when we did the process of finding an architect for this, because you need that for to make sure you have all the current information on what is required for codes. So Stephen Granger was the architect that was selected by a committee.
Some of the first bids we had for plumbing were just astronomical, and we said, no, we can't do that. And I said, why can't we use the old? Well, it's old. I said, well, does it work? Well, it probably leaks. Well, let's see where it leaks. So we went through that process, and it didn't take much to bring that existing plumbing to work accordingly. And that original plumbing is pretty much intact to all the restrooms where they were at, because we kept them where they were, so that saved a lot of money.
One of the key decisions that the leaders of this project made was in how they were going to handle the heating, cooling, and ventilation in this 4-story old building. They decided to treat each floor with its own HVAC system. It saved a lot of money, and it allowed local HVAC contractors to service the system for years to come.
Understanding that you have to have money to operate, no matter what level you're at, was something that our group, if we were going to take on this challenge, our group said we've got to take our time, and should not borrow money, and should raise the money to put it in perspective. So we turned time into our ally.
Well, I remember the first day we came down here, and we had told a lot of people, and we had about 15 volunteers that day, and it just kept building. But only the people who wanted to really get dirty, because we started in the basement, and I mean, it was a mess. and had been used for so many years.
And I remember when Al and Dale Soanes, who has passed away now, were down there grinding the floor and trying to clean up all the walls. And we finally found out that the walls were whitewashed. So we couldn't get it all off. So then we found a paint that would work to cover it up. So we were able to paint the walls then.
We didn't have to restore much in the bathrooms downstairs. So those are very original, but we took radiators out of there. So there were holes in the floor. Well, Dale came up with the idea of going to the people that had tile company here in town. And he took the old boards that had those little tiny tiles on them for display. And he tore those little pieces of tile off and patched that. I mean, that's the kind of stuff Dale did that nobody else did. He was a great guy.
But we got everything down and we finished the basement. To me, that was the hardest part of this building.
The college was in need of expansion, and they had an art program, equipment, and that's how we started the studio level. We made an agreement with them to rent it. So now we had income.
Well, our goal at first was to take no walls out unnecessarily and to put no new walls in unnecessarily. So we tried to use everything we had and work to that goal, and that's how it all came about, with a lot of help.
We got a call from a lady in Hershey, and she had a whole bunch of old baseboard material that had been taken out of their high school. And it was up in a barn just covered with dirt, and I don't know how many years it had been up there, but she thought that we could use it. Well, it didn't look very promising, but we went over, myself and two other men went over, and we loaded it on a flatbed trailer, hauled it back and took it over to the car wash, and we laid all those boards out and just cleaned them off with at the car wash.
I was the person that made sure the woodwork looked good, because I had a recipe of a cleaner for woodwork, and it was millwork, and it had turpentine in it and linseed oil and some other stuff anyway. Well, when you clean it, it would clean the yuck that was coating all this, and then it would kind of shine it too with the oil that was in it. And so everybody thought that was good, so I just kept making batches of it, and I'd clean it, and then we found out that the woodwork was really in good shape. It was amazing how it wasn't damaged.
Alan had the foresight to acquire those doors, and we put them in storage, or he put them in storage, and brought them out, and we've got doors here from the old high school, windows from the old high school, interior windows, and so it's been great to take old material and repurpose it.
And the same thing with some of these other floors up here, and the terrazzo floor out front. There was a lot of work done out there. We did have someone professional come in and just do a buffer over the top of it to get all the old carpet glue and stuff out, and it turned out really good. But there was a couple areas that were bad from damage, things were cracked, and having artists in the building, they just filled it in with concrete and painted it to make it look like the floor. And if you walk through out there, you probably couldn't tell what they did and how they did that. So I was, you know, that things like that saved a lot of money on this whole process.
And but the city is a great partner. When we first started, they were instrumental in the community block grant that helped put the elevator, the stairwell, tear off the old addition and bring a new addition to the proper level that we needed. And then after we got to this floor, the first floor, we had a contractor, Dowhauer, a very good contractor, take care of the elevator situation and putting the stairwell in and the heavy concrete work. Well, now that we had that completed, having a contractor can be one of the most expensive pieces. So we had a volunteer that knew a carpenter, a really good Finnish carpenter. So we put our heads together and figured out a way to get him to commit to do the carpenter work, and expanded from there. So it was Rick Nelson. He expanded from there to overseeing other subcontractors. So he really became the carpenter and the general.
Dale Soames. He ended up being one of the guys that did crazy things to get things around here done. And he's one of the guys that helped restore the egg and dart molding that is down in the main hall.
Mary Tanner did the egg and dart, and my husband did the plaster. And how beautiful this building is because of that renovation here.
Opened in November of 2015, yeah. And so that's when the gift shop opened. Sherry Erickson and I, we kind of, we went to market together. We kind of had a vision of what we wanted to do. And we wanted artists to consign things, in which we had a lot of that at the beginning. But we also wanted just some items that people might like and that were different than you could buy in any other store. And so we went shopping at the market in Denver and filled the shelves, sparsely, but we filled the shelves.
Of the building, and I want to do dirty work. That's what I told him. That's what I told him. And so the next day, I had my work clothes on and I went up on the second floor and started working.
It just kept moving. Never was nothing's going on down there. There was always something. If you came down, you could work for a couple hours and make a contribution to that.
With the help of just numerous volunteers, we started turning it around, and one floor at a time.
In little places around this building, you'll see all the people that helped financially. But the other thing which is pretty important is the volunteer help that we had. And some of the naysayers turned into volunteers, because we did all the heavy lifting, the dirty work, and all that stuff was done by volunteers, thousands and thousands of hours. And that's kind of how it went as this progressed, and it's kind of originated that theme of one floor at a time.
From start to finish, the creation of the Prairie Arts Center took more than 10 years, one floor at a time. it came about, this amazing accomplishment, because of the commitment of the community, a wonderful leadership, thousands of hours of volunteer labor, several $1 million of donations. Just an amazing accomplishment, extraordinary accomplishment, once again proving that extraordinary things can be accomplished in this community. Holly Carlini was the first employee, paid employee of the Prairie Arts Center. And it was really a gift to our community and to the Arts Center.
She was in the process of changing careers. But that was one of the challenges, is Holly was available, and really we weren't quite ready for Holly. So one of our committee's jobs was to find a way to make sure we got Holly. And of course we did. So that's kind of how that happened. By getting Holly, I think we knew, the group knew that there was more opportunity for the arts than just a gallery. The gallery was a piece of it. But the teaching part was huge. And that's what Holly's terrific at, along with everything. But
there actually was not a lot of art on the walls, and so it was just a building process. And so really it was my goal to pack as much art into this place as possible, and that includes classes. So for me, I adore curating a gallery exhibit. That's something that I really love. We work really hard every month to change art in the entire building. But I also love kids' classes, and I love to see a kid come in here when they're 4 years old and they've graduated through all of our classes, and now they come back and help us and volunteer to help with the little classes. It's really a great joy for me to know that you're instilling creativity. They're not scared to do that. You know, they're really curious to try something new. And yeah, I think that's my biggest joy.
I can see the little ones that were little in the beginning, how they have developed. I mean, it just amazes me. And how older adults, men and women, come in excited for the next project.
I'll be working maybe on the first floor, changing light bulbs or whatever. And all these kids and their parents start flowing in. And that's pretty neat, because especially in the summer months, you know, the parents are bringing their kids here to experience art.
To experience not just the STEM culture, but the STEAM culture. And you've heard of that, science, technology, engineering, math. But when you add the A of the arts, you get STEAM, and there's more cooking.
And where do they cut out in the systems? Art, music, much of the creative end of education. And you can see in our classes, those little ones, and I don't mean little, I mean teenagers, and you know, but we have some little ones, 3 and 4 years old, come to these classes, and they have so much fun, and they just open up. They just open up.
Yeah, I think the art classes and even the gallery exhibits are a great educational portion of this building. You know, it exposes people to new artwork. Artwork's different everywhere. It may expose you to things you like or don't like, you know, and it allows you to kind of work through that process. Art has no boundaries. It has no language barriers. It's something that anybody can walk in and look at a piece, and they realize, you know, different feelings or meanings. And classes are the same way. It allows people to experience new mediums, play around, laugh together, have fun, work through a sad point in their life. You know, you really encompass everything.
And when you see kids come in here with their parents, it really is generational. It almost is a feeling of like, Grandma, tell me more. Is that really what the farmland looked like? And I think the art isn't just about what it is in a three-dimensional sense. It's also about the ideas it creates and the conversations that ensue.
Yeah, I think this building is such a cornerstone in downtown, not only for creation inside the building, but it's allowed us to spill outside the building. So from creating different partnerships, like with our community mural, it's also allowed us to create murals through downtown and sculpture walks through downtown. So it's really just allowed art to kind of filter through the community, and I think that's really a highlight of the building as well.
I noticed how our community really came together to celebrate the joy of art. And let me just give you a brief picture of what it was like earlier. In the mid-'80s, Rhonda Seacrest, she's a lady that lives here that has donated much to this art gallery, to Prairie Arts Center. She brought Sheldon Statewide Touring Exhibition to North Platte, and I've been a docent for about 4 decades for Sheldon. They come once a year, but we were out at the mall, and then we were, and loved it. We were at McKinley, the little school, you know, McKinley School. But as I was doing that over the years, I thought to myself, everybody loved it. We had 4,000 kids the first year Sheldon Statewide came here in the mid-'80s. So here we are evolving now to the 2000s and have an opportunity to have a home for our own art.
Along the way, and Holly has been great as our executive director in finding ways to get art into the building, not only just local artists, but from national shows that we've had. We've also partnered with the school, and we get the Sheldon show now and then. And to get the statue that we have outside, I think that's great. We also got the heart out on the west opening. That was a project that was done, and we were able to get the heart. And I believe it was purchased and donated by a donor. So we were excited about that.
So I was here running the building for 20 hours a week, and I think we just grew really fast and furious, and some of the things that we were able to offer and some of the things that I was able to run with. I really didn't have anybody say, no, you can't do that. They're like, what else can you do? What else can you do? And so we just had like this really great supportive group of people that allowed us to expand our offerings. And so over the years, we've slowly been able to add other people. And so that includes an event coordinator. We have a ceramics director. I have somebody running our pottery studio. We have a great cleaning staff. We have just so many volunteers that work the front desk. We have bookkeeper. So it's really great now, because when we were all pitching in to clean and mop, and you're trying to run all of your everyday duties and teach classes and curate exhibits and write grants, it's a lot. So yeah, I feel like it's pretty successful to know that we're able to bring in people and have enough grants and donations and income to sustain that. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes in the future too.
All that art is created from somewhere, from somebody. And we have that talent right here in North Platte. But they never had a chance to express it in the forums that were available. So it's kind of fun to see this thing continue to flourish. And it's for the people, it's not for us, not for the people that are here. We created, helped create it, put it all together, but it's for them to use, and that's what's happening.
it truly just takes my breath away. And I know that you've heard the stories about the hours of volunteer work, you know, recreating the egg and dart ceiling decoration there, the scraping of the adhesive off of the tile, hours and hours and hours of that. And to have watched it go from that through people's work to what it is now is just breathtaking and so inspiring.
It took so many thousands of volunteer hours to bring this to what it is today that no, none of us knew it would be that much, but there were a lot of us who were willing to work on it. I mean, from the piano on the mezzanine area there to what we call chandeliers in the reception room, it was the most fabulous and wonderful project I've ever been a part of.
The building is very precious to me. Has lots of memories, lots of friends that I have made because of the Prairie Arts Center. So, to what we started with and what we have today. And I always say, without the donors and the volunteers, it never would have happened. And we did have non-believers in the beginning, believe me.
It's amazing that so many people have put their hand to this and their mind, and to have the vision and then share that with other people, and they all come together and just pitch in. It's been wonderful. And it's gone on all these years, one floor at a time.
There's not a lot of places around here where you can walk in and create a piece of artwork, have your wedding, have your graduation party, see some gallery exhibits, have a lunch with friends. So it's really an all-encompassing building that these guys have created for the community.
The greatest thing of this is we have a great plan of succession for this to continue for possibly another 100 years. I mean, the building's 100 years old, well-built building, and it could go on for several more generations. The success of this place belongs to everybody.